शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये अगजाननपद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदं तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां यद्गिरिमुपास्महे गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः बुद्धिर्बलं यशोधैर्यं निर्भयत्वमरोगता अजाड्यं वाक्पटुत्वं च हनुमत्स्मरणात् भवेत्. My namaskars to all the dignitaries there. This is a wonderful morning here in Australia and as well as India. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present my paper, Gurus, starting from Sadasiva Swami, in between Adi Shankaracharya and Asmadacharya, along with the Acharyas there in the Vedic University, and all the listeners who are dignitaries there who are well versed in all sorts of knowledge systems in Indian Vedic systems around. And this is such a nice opportunity for myself and from Australia as well to participate here and to share some of the knowledge which we all know as well. Just I want to share it from my perspective, from a research perspective. I stand on the shoulders of the giants. All this research which has been done before is by great persons, and I'm referring to them and presenting this to you before all of you, and all the knowledge imparted by the saints, rishis, who are the excellent scientists the world has seen. And this is the time India is rising, Bharat, our own Bharat Khanda is rising, and this is the time for entire world to know how much we contributed in various aspects of the human knowledge. So all the entire human knowledge is in Vedas, and I'm going to present one part of it, as a predictive analysis. So these days, everybody, because I come from software background, I'm a cloud computing software architect, as well as by God's grace and my guru's blessings, I also uh, learn and do avadhanam as well, and that is also for benefit of temples and all the Sanatana Dharma margam, in the Sanatana Dharma margam. So initially, with the Lord Sri Venkateswara's blessings, today's topic of weather prediction. Now, why I mentioned about the software background is the world is going towards artificial intelligence. So if you have to say artificial intelligence, how everything is working, we all have been, or we are indirectly also right now using a lot of artificial intelligence tools. For example, if anybody is using WhatsApp, there is a WhatsApp AI embedded into it from Meta. Similarly, Microsoft Copilot. So if anybody is using Teams, there's a Microsoft Copilot, which is an artificial intelligence branch of it. And we all know about ChatGPT, which has been in the news for long. Now, all these systems, how do they work? Based on a data set. And based on a data set that they're trained and made to predict the best outcome and then present it. So when we ask a artificial intelligence system like an AI system like ChatGPT to write something in a similar vein of Shakespeare, it has a huge data set of Shakespeare's poems, and then it picks up from that data set and presents it in a nice paragraph for us, or in like a poem. So even the current artificial intelligence systems is based on a data set, on an observation. Now, our Vedic studies, especially in predictive studies, they are also based on some centuries of data, not just decades of data. Now, if you see the data set behind a chat GPT is probably 2021 data or 2022 data, till 2021 or till 2022, what is the data set? It is there. So in a way, our latest artificial intelligence system is also restrictive it's restricted based on only its data set. But our Indian system has been from 5,000 years. So each year's or all these weather predictions, which we simply say that this is a weather prediction, it may not work or may work, but it will work because a meticulous observation of the planetary systems and its effect on the human life has been recorded in Vedic system from ages, and it has moved through different uh, centuries as a Guru Parampara. That is where the beauty of our all Vedic system lies, wherein all these observations, we have a wonderful Akshara system. So each Aksharam has a number associated to it, right? And has its own meaning also associated to it. So a slokam, simple slokam can have multiple meanings based on the aksharam's number or aksharam's meaning, right? And our sages are so intelligent that they predicted that we can grasp or we may not able to grasp. So that's why a profound concept also is presented in a simple language like Vishnu Sahasranamam. It can have multiple meanings for multiple persons who is able to invest time and understand. Similarly, this particular my topic on presentation, weather prediction or the rainfall prediction from a Vedic perspective and a meteorological perspective, a comparative introduction, because I can only introduce the subject because this is so vast, and the the data from the subjective analysis is also so vast that a simple talk may not do the complete justice. And I, from my side also, I'm only aiming to give a small introduction there, so that they'll be including from Australian perspective as well. We can embrace the knowledge which Vedic system is giving to the entire world. So with this premise, I'm starting with first introducing uh, the main papers, the reference paper. So I have been referring multiple texts, starting with Brhatsamhita by Varahamihira. So the English translation and the text was given for the Brhatsamhita in 1946, and that was by Vidwan M. Ramakrishna Bhatt. So Pandita Bhushana V. Subramanya Shastri and Vidwan M. Ramakrishna Bhatt in 1946 has given the Brihat Samhita's English translation and notes. I refer to that one. And then there are two excellent papers in 2012 by three sages, I will call three dignitaries, Vanadeep K, Mr. Vanadeep K, Mr. Sadasivamurthy R, and Mr. Krishnaya M. In 2012, they have two wonderful papers which also they deal with a complete meticulous study. To the end of it, they presented it, and I'm referring to those two studies and presenting this paper to you as a talk, so that we all can appreciate the knowledge we have, our Vedic system is offering, and then what else we also can do. So the Brihat Samhita of Varahamihira, that's a 5,000 years old text, especially 1500 years back onwards, 1500 years back. This text was compiled by Varahamihira in such a treatise. He from cloud formation to the omens to the rainfall predictions. So everything has been explained. Even the comets, their transitions on the sun, and all this com- complete star constellations, we call it, right? Asterisms. So their behavior and the effects on us, he has noted them so succinctly that, and those predictions, let me start with the results, so that we'll appreciate instead of directly going into the subject. The results have been so much encouraging that in 2012, in a data set of some decades before that, especially from 1990s till 2012, the data set has been chosen, and the data was given from IMD. So this all this paper presenters who did this one from Indian Meteorological Department's data, they took the rainfall actual data, and they compared with the Varahamihira's slokas and the predictions. And this is very, I personally, I felt that was wonderful, because 1500-year-old text, and in between there are a lot of events happened, including climate change. The current climate change scenario has been so faster that everything is changing. Everywhere it is flooding. Even if you see Indonesia's Jakarta is getting flooded, the capital of Indonesia is getting flooded, right? Venice is getting flooded. All are submerging because of the rising sea level. So in this scenario also, still it holds good up to 55%. A 1500-year-old text is able to predict even today's climate, even in this climate change scenario, up to 55%, 60% success rate. I would say it is excellent, because now I'll tell you the way a Bureau of Meteorology from Australia or European Meteorological Center, how do they predict the weather? They have multiple data sets. Now we are comparing a 1500-year-old text with polar orbiting meteorological satellites. The data taken by a simple weather prediction comes from a meteorological satellite in polar orbit, right? And geostationary satellites and high altitude aircrafts and voluntary observing ships, because they place the ships in Southern Ocean, Antarctica, and Pacific as well, to understand all the El Nino effects. And then there's a satellite ground station which collects all this data. And there are pilotless aircrafts. Right now, we are using drones to collect the precipitation information, right? And these drones and the rain gauges and the observatory centers. There even today, everything is all based on observation. So all these together feeds the data into a software model, and that software model has years and years of data from observed history. So observed history can be 200 years back or 100 years back, based on the availability of data set. With this in picture and a supercomputer computing power, it is actually processing trillions of data points and giving a weather report, saying that, okay, today it can be this much, tomorrow it can be this much, it may rain, may not rain, and up to 10 days it is able to predict like this. The current weather models, what we are seeing in the news, right? And if you go to US, it has its own observatory, and all of Europe has all the Central Europe has a observatory, which also caters to Australia, India, and America as well, because it's located in the central position. It has its own, all this equipment. It has its own. This much of computing power, like I told you, trillions and trillions of data churning happens, and then it gives a 10 days weather forecast. Now compare this much of machinery and this much of manpower with a 1500-year-old Vedic text, and then the text is able to predict 55% success rate. Now, isn't it so wonderful? Now the 55% also, I would say, because of the changed climatic conditions. It is not the same Bharat 1500 years back. It is not the same. For example, the Chennai is not the same Chennai, not the same Chennapatnam, even 10 years back, even, or let's say even for 30 years or 40 years back, the Chennapatnam is not the same as today's Chennapatnam, based on the climate. The climate change has been that much huge. And even instead of all these challenges, if the text is able to predict up to that level, I would say it is exemplary knowledge, and that is what we have to take care of, as well as take the worthy note of. I would say all the governments also to take a worthy note of this kind of a Vedic system, which is it can work in conjunction with the current models. That's what I'm trying to propose. The Vedic system, what is already there, the governments also can use that system and also keep them in their predictive models, so that the actual farmer can benefit. So I'd like to explain a little bit of a prediction in Brhatsamhita. There was a point which actually caught my eye very nicely. So when the moon is in conjunction with Rohini, So we know different kartis, the Rohini karti, the stars, Rohini nakshatram. So because we're a lunar based calendar, when the moon is in conjunction with Rohini, seeds of all varieties of food grains are to be immersed in a vessel containing water. This text is from Rohini Yoga Chaya, your Rohini Yoga Chaya, 25th 24th chapter. So when the moon is in conjunction with Rohini, seeds of all varieties of food grains are to be immersed in a vessel containing water. Take a vessel, keep all the food grains, whatever we regularly harvest, right? It has to be sensibly and judicially observed that which of these seeds and what percentage of them have sprouted. So when moon is in Rohini, in conjunction with Rohini, now observe all the seeds placed in the vessel of water and see which of them are getting sprouted, and that too how many of them, the percentage of them, success rate in them, the sprouts. And then only those grains which has a high success rate has to be planted. So because the prediction says only those grains will have higher level of successful harvest. Now I would say this small text in between the Brhatsamhita, it can be easily lost in translation, but at the same time, if it catches the eye of a great uh, minister or an government machinery, this is an amazing prediction wherein every year during that kind of a season wherein the moon is with Rohini, they can, as a trial basis, it's always any scientific observation, it is also like a pilot project, a trial basis. They can try for some years, collect the data, wherein the farmers, the government can say, okay, farmers, those kind of seeds which they are regularly using, try them in this kind of keeping them in water and seeing the success rate in sprouting during that time, and only plant them so that they don't have the crop loss, because the crop loss is a huge issue, we all know, across the our farming community, and that's where the uh, lot of rates of suicides were also there, which we know, because along with coupled with debt, the crop loss is also the harvest loss because of the changing climate situation and many other socio-economic factors. Now, with this kind of information from a Vedic system, if the government and why I'm saying government is because they have resources as well. They will have the resources, and this is a small effort from our side. So try this kind of a thing, seeds in the water, and whichever is successful, then ask the farmers or advise the farmers to harvest those, so that the success rate can be better and we can avoid the crop loss, and with that we can try to avoid the economic pains, and maybe we can address the bigger problem with a small solution. Sometimes the bigger problem can have smaller solutions and meaningful solutions, and this is where I'm driving the points here, because this uh, prediction has a backing of a scientific observation as well, because all this data churning has happened, and the paper which I mentioned, all the three dignitaries, like I told initially, I stand on the shoulders of the giants, because this all information is their meticulous work. Now when I'm reading this, when I'm reading it in a text wise, and when I see the results, I just felt amazed, and I thought this is the correct medium where I can also able to project this one, and I can say this to my son and my next people also, because this is where we impart the education. I thought this kind of this is one point which I told you, and the paper has a entire graph explaining the data set. So like I told, the reference paper which I had it. So I'll be sharing that to our community after this one, once we finish the talk. But this is only one point which I told. So the period of study which were again happened is from 1992-93 to 2000 to 2003. And during that period, this data from Indian Meteorological Department was taken into consideration and carefully compiled and formulated, comparing with all the Brhatsamhita's verses. So Brhatsamhita, like I told, it is a big treatise. Like one simple thing on Brhatsamhita can take multiple hours of discourse or multiple hours of discussion as well. Like between all of us, we can sit and discuss a lot whether we can take this into account or not, because that's where the scientific part of it. And I, from a perspective of a software architect as well, I feel Indian system of education or Indian system of Vedic education, like I have to say correctly, is the most scientific education. We have we have logic in the in the core, because outside I have been hearing a lot of things from my childhood. So we keep on using all the Sanskrit mantras in our education and all, and they say it is simply a different thing, not too logical or not really for these times. This is what they have been telling. But I would, with on this stage, I would really urge all my friends, all my contemporaries, all everybody has this other notion outside. So the Vedic University is the main uh, main stage, which is from which I am giving this small suggestion for other friends of me, other friends who are in software or who just lost their roots. I would say try to come back and see. This is the most logical subject in entire world, because Siksha, Vyakarana, Nyaya, all Shastras, they have logic inside it, right? And by great Swami Vivekananda himself, he says, anything, anything which makes us spiritually or uh, very, lessen us our intellect, reject it as poison, he says. And that is coming from a yogi who has a full yogic instruction in Sanskrit, and who has a full command on all the Vedic knowledge. And he says that with such a conviction, that shows how much our Vedic system is logical. And with that logic, two persons can amicably sit and discuss. So Brihat Samhita or any other Sanskrit text for that matter, two persons can sit amicably, discuss, identify its good things, and then propose it to the government. So government also will should take care of that kind of good points out of it. Having said that, which I think everybody was also doing, I just want to keep it as a point here. Now, Brihat Samhita, like I told, I have multiple things. I'll telling some of the predictions which may be of interest to us. So the cloud formation, like the rainfall patterns and all, like I explained, a rainfall prediction from a current meteorological perspective has multiple points. So the air pressure. So if I have to point it from a Western knowledge perspective, the rainfall predictions happens with especially in India, because again I have to point this one. India or Bharat for that matter is geographically different than Australia, which I'm here. So in Australia there are only four rutus, so the four seasons, and rainy season interestingly is not part of it. So rains happen to keep on raining across different seasons in Australia. And that too, Australia has a arid climate. So if you see Australian geography, the middle of Australia, the largest landmass of Australia is a desert, complete desert, no water. But still, the coastal areas were so much in uh, Palavantam, we call it in Sanskrit, right? So coastal areas have a lot of diversity, but the middle of Australia is entirely desert. So we cannot really compare Australia and India. So the geographical wise, also our text we have to look at that way, wherein it caters mainly to the point of view. So all our text is based from an Indian or Bharat Khanda point of view. Chappana Desha we call 56 countries together is Bharat Khanda at one point. Now everything was scattered across, like Afghanistan, say Nepal, everything at one point was in Bharat Khanda. So from a Bharat Khanda perspective, this text is there. So we have to understand how the Bharat Khanda Western people use the regression models. So they take into consideration Arabian Sea surface temperature, Eurasian snow cover, Northwest European mean temperature, and the Nino effects, the El Nino or La Nina, we call it, either too much rainfall or a no rainfall scenario. Nino effects, South Indian Ocean Index, East Asia air pressures, European pressures, Europe has some air pressure, so European air pressure, and then wind patterns. This is the meteorological regression models parameters on which they form a prediction. Now, similarly, Brhatsamhita has all these kind of things. Clouds. It starts with clouds, cloud pattern, wind pattern, and also the star pattern. It takes into picture. So with all these cloud patterns, wind patterns, and star patterns, Brhatsamhita proposes, okay, so and so on the so and so date, this may happen. So what it says, I cannot really completely go into all the predictions, but as a example, I'm saying lunar conjunctions as per Brhatsamhita, they start with pregnancy of clouds. This is a wonderful point again. Western, as per the Western things, the clouds are formed based on the water vapor, and on that day itself, or on that particular point itself, the clouds are formed and they get together or scattered across. In a simple terms to explain, they just mention up to here. But our Bruhat Samhita, it goes to the extent saying that the clouds are formed as similar to how we form in the mother's womb, Garbha. So he proposes, Varahamihira proposes a wonderful concept called Garbhadharana, and Garbhadharana of a cloud. So he says the gestation period of a cloud is 195 days. So the minute the water as a vapor comes from the surface of earth to the top, from there till 195 days, the cloud is getting formed. So anything can form in between, which causes the cloud to disorient. Like a wind can make the cloud disappear, or anything in that matter. So from Garbhadharana to actual cloud giving the correct rainfall, it takes 195 days as per Brhatsamhita. So that also is explained, especially it says that when the moon passes through the Purvashada asterism is again the star constellation. So Purvashada asterism, when the moon passes through it, beginning from the first day of Tukla Paksha in the month of Margasira, the fetus or the cloud gets forming. Okay, will be released after 195 solar days when the moon again passes through the same asterism as per the laws of revolution. This is called Garbhadharana, and anything can happen in between. So that's where he says if there be excess of rain at the time of formation of fetus, for example, already there will be a matured cloud there, and some other cloud is getting just forming at that time. So if there will be an excessive rain at that time of formation, this could lead to the destruction of fetuses should the amount of rainfall exceed 1/8 of a drona. We call droni. Probably we in the news will say alpa droni, right? Droni or drona. So drona is the amount of measure for rainfall in those days. So we know in mm's, right? So 1/8 of a drona is 8 mm of rainfall in our modern rain gauge. 8 mm, 8 mm rainfall in modern gauge is 1/8 of a drona. So 1 drona is 64 mm of rainfall in modern gauge. Simple, right? So that will lead to a miscarriage of fetus, wherein during the formation of fetus, if there is an excessive rain, so that is as simple as when the water vapor is moving up, if there's a rain, this will also come down as a water. Simple. So, and the 4 days commencing from 8th lunar day of Sukla Paksha, of Jyeshtha, in a Jyeshtha month, Sukla Paksha, 8th lunar day, the 4 days from then are, if they are sustained by winds, those are called Vayu Dharanas. It will prove beneficial if they are accompanied by soft and auspicious breezes from north, northeast, and east. This is so it explains various, because we have 8 directions: north, northeast, and east, and you have to understand it's a breeze. So in the Jyeshtha Mantha, Sukla Paksha of Jyeshtha Mantha, 8th day onwards, 8th lunar day onwards, for 4 days. If there are if the breezes from north, northeast, and east are favorable or accompanied, then it will be a beneficial rainfall for that, uh, for the formation of the for the cloud. So the cloud can be filled with good water there. So this is how the Brhatsamhita explains right from the starting of the cloud formation, how what affects the cloud to disorient, or what affects the cloud to form correctly. This is sloka 6-7 onwards in 21st chapter of Garbhalakshanam, right? Similarly, like I told, I can explain like this. So if it rains under the Shatabhishak astrum, Jyeshta and Swati, the rainfall amounts to 4 dronas. If it happens in Kritika, it will be 10 dronas. 14 dronas of rainfall can be expected during the season if it rains under the stars of Shravana, Makha, Anuradha, Bharani, Mola. See the amount of information we can, in plain English, I'm telling you so that you know, because everybody can have a list of it. Now this list goes on and on and on in 700 slokas. And imagine how many lists we can make and how much we can compare, right? In these two papers, they compared main 27 to 33 slokas and then its effects, which came up with such a humongous work. Now imagine if 757 slokas, if we have the resources of uh, researching each sloka with the entire data of IMD, or for that matter across the world, how much we can impart. Now I used to get a small question from my friends. Uh, my friends will immediately used to ask me, okay, weather predictions are more correct than these predictions. Why? So that is also a logical question. So I would take that logical question, and I used to, then we have a wonderful, again, answer lies in the question itself. In India, in Bharat Khanda, like I told, Chappana Desha, if you remember, during the king's rule, each king has their own Purohita. So each Purohita is well versed. He used to have a system of Purohits. Now Purohita has a system of Acharyas, right? They are well versed in local conditions and Panchangam, right? Panchangam is not a standalone subject, and it is not like in the YouTube these days, very famously everybody is saying the prediction using Panchangam. Panchangam is not a complete, what to say, a generic, cannot be generalized for every geography. Indian Panchangam cannot work for Australia. Simple thing, because Australia's latitude and longitude are different. Now, if we import the Indian Panchangam and try to compare with Australian rainfall, it won't work. For the simple reason, Australia is in completely different latitude and longitude. So the entire calculations which has to be done has to be to that latitude and longitude, and that calculations are very intensive. Now I'll just ask to think or prod in the direction which I told initially. To compile the weather of 10 days, they are taking trillions of data calculations, trillions, and the supercomputer is doing it on a regular basis. Now imagine how much calculations we have to do from Panchangam perspective for a localized. So a Panchangam is a localized with local knowledge as well. Across all this Chappana Desha of Bharata Khanda, each have their own version of Panchangam, which is not uh, completely similar to the other Panchangam because of the latitude longitude differences. As simple as that. Now, with all this information, they used to predict, and that used to be spot on. Now, when we are losing the information, when we are losing the knowledge, or we're trying to completely generalize, that is where the 55% success rate is coming, because the calculations are done only as a generalized perspective, but not as complete localized up to the exact point. So, if we are able to have that kind of resources to exactly calculate for every point, then I'm sure this Vedic system will up to come to 80%, 90%, because Vedic system is true. Veda itself is true. Truth itself is Veda. Satyam. Satyam the lifeblood of entire Sanatana Dharma, and Veda will not go beyond that. So whatever Veda says is Satyam, and all this information, all this Jyotishya or Vedangas, they are part of them. So whatever we are right now doing, if we do them correctly in the sense like how it's explained, then we can reap more benefits is what I sincerely feel. And again, I'm touching about the Panchangam as well, because this 5,000 years of knowledge, Panchangam, not simple. And I just want to dispel one small. Again, this is again based on the observations of elders, right? So Panchangam, there's a small misconception around saying that Greeks were the first ones who had the this knowledge, and then we got it from them. No, Indian Panchanga system is from 5,000 years. Now, it's more ancient than any other civilization. We have this knowledge, and we have this knowledge from them, right? So this has been with us from long. So any other explanation in between is for various reasons, which we is out of our purview at this time. So ancient systems we have to respect, and probably we have to respect because to get more benefit out of it. This is all for our own perspective, because Yajna, Yaga, everything they do for Indra, Varuna. So we are nature worshippers, and we respect nature, and that's why we live in harmony. So that harmonious nature, which is coming from India, is a Vishwaguru because of that harmonious nature only. So now the Panchangam again, there is a good list of Kartis, Bharani Karti, Kritika Karti, Rohini Karti, Mrigasira Karti, Ardra Karti, Punarvasu Karti, Pushyami Karti, Aslesha, Makha, Purvashada or Pubba Karti, Uttarashada Karti, Hasta Karti, Chitta Karti, Swati, Vishakha, Anuradha, Jeshta, Mola. 18 Kartis we have. Based on the sun's, like every day we have one nakshatra based on the moon. Similarly, for sun also will be in one nakshatra, and per month it may be one or two Karti periods. So this Panchangam, our Indian Panchangam, has a list of all these Kartis and the rainfall predictions at that time. So we can also use that prediction model, this genetic prediction model now, to understand. Okay, it may rain. So now typical weather report I'm coming. It may rain. I have to use a small Telugu word here. Cheduru maduru vanalu padatai. That cheduru maduru can be from small rain to a big uspana also. So the cheduru maduru is that much. It has that much of a thing. So that kind of predictions are made by our meteorology sometimes. But similarly, or better than that, our Panchangam gives on each Karti what is the chance of rainfall. Like on Bharani Karti, it has a good rainfall. Kritika Karti, low rainfall. Rohini Karti, normal monsoon after starts. So Mrigasira Karti, low again. Ardra Karti, good to very good. So it gives a basic template where we can plan our activities, the farmers especially. So telling all these things, I would say really this is a wonderful opportunity given to me. That this, like I told, this is a comparative study between. So the Panchanga system, I'll just conclude with one thing. The Panchanga system, because I told, varies from a wider range of subject. So it has a success rate of 9.7% to 94%. That is the overall percentages across the rainfall predictions from a Panchangam perspective. Like I compared with Brhatsamhita, right? Similarly, Panchangam also I'm telling. So Panchangam's perspective, when we compare to IMD data, it says 9.7% to 94.4%. The wide range of success rate across between them. So it depends on the correct calculations as well. So these two I thought of presenting to you, and I would also like take this opportunity to give my profound thanks to Acharyas there and VCs are there. And thank you so much for the VCs are for giving me this opportunity to present this small comparative study to all your dignitaries. And I would like to take this forward as well, this kind of research, so that this will help a lot for other countries as well. We have in Australia, we started our own panchangam by God's grace. One of the great pandit here from 33 years is giving an panchangam. So similarly, I would like to take this forward, this research, and I urge other countries also probably take this benefit out of this research and try to embed them in their own predictive models. And thank you so much again for Vedic University, Sri Venkateswara Vedic University, and Sri VC sir, and all the dignitaries there. Thank you so much.